Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. I am recording this session now. We will be posting one of the two sessions online so that people are able to view at their leisure, and if they're not able to attend this session, we really do want to get as much of the presentation materials and information out to the community so that we can get feedback. If you are having issues with things pausing or conflicting, you can turn off your video and you should still be able to see everything. So I will share my screen. Petra, give me a thumbs up if you're seeing the presentation. Okay, good. Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining us here this evening. Tonight we'll be presenting the first of two community outreach sessions for the Village of New Denver Centennial Park Master Plan. Before I begin the session, I would like to gratefully acknowledge that this project lies within the traditional and unceded territory of the Sinixt, and by ancestral ties, the Ktunaxa, the Salix, and the Secwepemc First Nations. Our agenda this evening we'll go through project team introductions. We'll do a brief overview of the project so you know where we are at in the process, what we've accomplished to date, and where we're going. We'll take you through the site inventory and analysis. We'll go through the What We Heard report from the previous community engagement. We have two Centennial Park concepts that we're really excited to present to you this evening. And we'll go through next steps, and then we will have a question and discussion period. I just will say that I cannot see the chat function now that I'm in full screen mode, so let's just not use the chat if possible, but we will potentially be able to use that with the question and answer period. I'd like to introduce the project team. From the Village of New Denver, we have Catherine Alloway and Jessica Rayner. We do have a steering committee who's provided really valuable feedback and guidance. Teresa Tremaine, Greg McTaggart, Keith McCulley, and Mayor Casely. I myself am, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Jason Jones. I'm a landscape architect with Larch Landscape Architecture based in Golden. I'll let Fraser and Petra introduce themselves so you can see who else is on our multidisciplinary team.
Hi everyone, thanks again for coming. My name is Fraser Blythe. I am an urban designer and planner based in Revelstoke. I have to say I've really enjoyed working with Catherine and Jessica and Jason and Petra for the first time. So I think we're all really excited about the concepts and looking forward to your feedback.
Hi everybody, I'm Petra Heckenberg. I came to New Denver in 2015, and now that I'm a permanent resident, I started working in my profession as a public space designer, and it's been really wonderful to be part of this project.
Thank you both. And just to clarify, Fraser and I have worked together on quite a number of projects, but it's our first time working with Petra, and she's been really great to work with. It's not my first time working with Fraser, so just wanted to clarify that. So in terms of the project overview, the project really began in middle of October 2020. We had a project startup. We started compiling the relevant documents and information, and sorry. Jessica, did you want to say something here? Sorry, just if you wanted to speak, I didn't want to cut you off there.
Nope, sorry, just adjusting it. We got the projector up here and I was just gonna focus that. Sorry. The comment was just that I have two computer connections now because I can reach that one if we want to unmute
Okay. Did you want to introduce the project team at all, or say hello?
Hi, everyone. I think everyone here knows us. We've got Mayor Hazley here and Councillor Colin Moss and then myself as staff. We'll let Jason go ahead and take the lead on this. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. So as I said, the project began in earnest in mid-October. We gathered relevant documents, studies, and information. I see that somebody's jumped into the chat here. Give me 1 second. I'm figuring this out as we go a little bit. I'm not a pro yet. So we began with compiling relevant documents, reviewing studies and relevant information, preparing our base maps and our 3D model. We did have a walking tour with Centennial Park, with the mayor, with council and village staff. That was in mid-October. We spent a lot of time inventorying. It's a large park and there's a lot going on here. So we undertook a rigorous site inventory and analysis with Petra being with a resident of New Denver and me having visited the park several times, we were already fairly familiar with it, but we undertook a rigorous kind of really down to the gnat's eyebrow inventory analysis, recording each asset, issue, opportunity, and spatially mapping that. We did compose some draft vision and guiding principles that will be included in the report. In January and February of 2021, we began our public and stakeholder engagement process. This is a community-driven project. So there is a steering committee. There is the Village of New Denver providing guidance. There is our multidisciplinary team, but we are very much interested in the community. And we know that this is a highly valued park within the community, both for residents and visitors. We have a lot of passionate opinions about what should or shouldn't happen within the park. And we are really trying to provide everyone with ample opportunity to provide preliminary input, see how that feedback has driven the conceptual design process, gather feedback again, and hopefully get to a preferred concept that a lot of people are really, really excited about in the long term. What the master plan approach is it's a long-term vision for Centennial Park. So it is incredible what can happen when you have a plan in place. Things may not all happen at once. We're definitely looking at, what's possible in terms of phased approach. We're very familiar, we're residents of small Kootenai mountain communities ourselves. So we're familiar with the challenges that such communities face. We're also familiar with some of the great opportunities that living in this area present, especially when you have a comprehensive plan that has been vetted through the community. Really amazing things can happen despite the small community size or taxpayer base. We're very interested in making an exceptional master plan for Centennial Park and something that the community has bought into, feel like they have shaped, and is really proud of and excited to see things put into motion. So where I have this little yellow picker symbol, that's where we're at today. So we're in our online community outreach sessions. Like I said, we're still gathering public feedback on the concepts, and then we will be moving into the final phase where we navigate to a preferred concept, look at phasing, look at cost estimating, and present a draft and final report. So just to recap a little bit of our site inventory and analysis, this was a very rainy day in October, but everyone was a good sport. There was a lot of passion, and it was great to see, a diverse group and people that are really knowledgeable about the park and some of the issues that that present from an operational perspective, from a user perspective. So we did the site walk in October 15th and 16th. We took a look at, a lot of the pedestrian trails, the park entries, the boat launch, some of the even drainage issues that that take place on site. We did undertake a review of existing buildings and structures on site, looking at the age of the structures, the lifespan, where they're at in that cycle. Existing unique features like the gazebo that's quite unique to the area. We took a look at the existing sport facilities. We have, basketball, baseball, bocce, soccer, volleyball. There's an existing park with many play elements that are, it's a good mix of kind of pretty old elements and fairly new elements, presenting different values, different play values, and either meet or don't meet code still. We looked at the day use areas and the beach areas, the beach volleyball court, looked at the existing playhouse, bocce courts, the time capsule, memorials. And then we undertook an extensive inventory of the campground, because the campground is obviously a huge part of the park as well. So the entry, the signage, connections to the community. Oops. We looked at the potential location for the new pump track or all-wheel skills park, looked at pedestrian connections to the to Highway 6, and then looked at some of the unique kind of informal areas within the seasonally inundated area, north of the dike, south of Carpenter Creek. And so, as I said, we took that on-site approach, took a lot of GPS, a lot of notes on site, and we translated that into a 3D model of the existing park. So we have a spatial inventory of the existing amenities. We have mapped all of the existing assets, issues, and opportunities, and we have gone through a summarization of that and provided recommendations before we undertook creating the preliminary concepts. So yeah, we definitely came into the process with an open mind. And while we were on site, we wanted to basically be a sponge and soak up all of the local knowledge and opinions that we could from everyone that was there. So I didn't want to, as we're trying to be mindful of time and allow for enough time for a good question and answer period. This is just one page from the analysis report. These letters do correspond to analysis that we have taken down and recommendations that we have, but in an effort to be streamline the process, I wasn't going to take everyone through. It's a little bit text heavy, but this is a bit of a representation of where we went with that. After undertaking the site analysis, as I said, we began a community engagement process. And I will say that it is unfortunate. We really enjoy interacting with community members and being there in person. I love coming to the New Denver area, and it's beautiful, and it's very unfortunate that that we can't be there in person right now. I'm hopeful that we will be able to be there for final presentations in person. But at this time, this is kind of the best we can do. So we appreciate everyone's understanding. Ideally, we would, our vision for this kind of community outreach and open house would be to set up within the park, have boards that people can peruse at their own speed, read every detail or browse over them kind of how they wish. Allow opportunities for feedback on anything that we're able to show. So it's a little bit different of a process, we admit, But like I said, we do want to engage with the community as best we can, and we are looking for feedback to shape the process as we move forward. So in early 2021, we undertook a community survey, both online and hard copy. And I was very impressed with the response that we had. We had over 240 responses. In addition to the community survey, we also received 10 park-related submissions from different residents and stakeholder groups. We also believe that the future, as this is a long-term vision for the park, truly relates to the youth in the community. So we wanted to connect with the Lucerne Public Schools. So what we did was we had a design charrette with grades 2 to 7, and we got some really interesting ideas, feedback, and that was great to see. I would have loved to have been there in person to lead a bit of a design charrette with the youth, but like I said, it's an interesting time, so we're doing the best that we can to engage with everyone. We do feel good about the cross-section of people that did participate in the survey. About 50% are year-round residents in New Denver, and about another 25% were residents of New Denver for part of the year. And we also did have engagement from people that were non-residents that we can assume visit New Denver as visitors regularly or do have a vested interest in the community and Centennial Park. Primarily, we had ages 35 to 45 and 65 and above, making up for over 25% of the total each. But we did have 20% were younger than 24, and that's in addition to the youth charrette. So again, I do feel good about the cross-section of people, getting a broad range of user groups and demographics involved. We did have the Kootenai Adaptive Sport Association also provide an accessibility audit for the park. So that was great to see some of that input. In terms of park usage, over 50% of respondents visit the park daily or several times per week in the summer. It falls off a little bit less frequently in the wintertime, but it is a well-loved and well-used park. But we do feel there's an opportunity to extend some of the shoulder season use within Centennial Park with some of the upgrades that are being proposed. So some of the, I should say, this is kind of a report back on the summary of the community survey, if that wasn't clear. So this isn't every point that was in the survey, but we're trying to highlight some of the major issues that came out and some of the feedback that did shape our conceptual design process moving forward. So what were the park amenities or potential park amenities that received the most support? Accessibility within the park was huge. Over 77% of respondents rated that accessible beach access was a high or medium priority, and improved accessibility for pedestrian pathways, play features, and seating also received really high response. Public washrooms and showers was also considered a higher medium priority by most people, with a desire to potentially have year-round access to public washroom facilities. A performance space or event space also received very strong support, with over 74% rating it as a high priority. And a covered space also was highly valued by respondents as a medium to high priority, as well as a concession. We also asked if the community would be supportive of potentially including a new community hall within Centennial Park. And I just wanted to clarify that the village is exploring opportunities if there is a feasibility study for the Bosun Hall, whether that's to remain in place or whether that's to become a new building. So the intent wouldn't be for the Village of New Denver to have two large halls, but they are exploring all options. And so some of the direction that we got was to include a community hall in the survey to see what the response was, and also to include it in one of the concepts to see what that might look spatially within the park. And so it was pretty evenly split. We had about a 50-50 in terms of yes, maybe, and then no. And I understand both perspectives. But we also didn't want to rule anything out until we could show some precedent images, see how much space that took up within the park, see what the parking requirements would be for a space like that. So it was definitely a worthwhile exercise, and we look forward to feedback on that moving forward. Campground improvements were another major component of the park and the community survey that we wanted feedback on. Right now, the campground has kind of two parts to it. There's the south campground area and then the north campground area. And there are some advantages to it in being the south campsites are considered important because they generate a lot of revenue. They're always full due to the proximity to the lake and the fantastic views. They're also tightly spaced. They're not exactly designed to, provincial standards. And a lot of residents kind of feel like they take over the waterfront space in both the north and the south area of the park during peak tourism times. So they're less likely to come to the park and use the park. So we did float the question out there. Were people open to exploring relocating the south campsites? And we saw that 67% of respondents noted an interest in exploring relocating the south campsites to another area of the park, though they are recognized as important and a revenue generating stream for the village of New Denver. In terms of service sites, power and water, many of the survey respondents noted a disapproval of generators, noting that they are noisy and take away from the natural setting and peacefulness of the park. So by providing service sites, the thought would be that there's less generator use, being a more quiet setting. So we are taking feedback on that and trying to adapt it into the site servicing moving forward. There was a strong interest in a paid sani dump or an automated sani dump. More than half of the respondents gave an improved sani dump facility a high priority. There was not much support for accommodating large size RVs. 47% would rather not accommodate them, and 31% give a low importance to accommodating large RVs. We did a little bit of a word cloud to kind of capture some of the main themes and reoccurring themes that we're seeing from some of the data that we're generating. So again, I believe that we will be able to share this report back so that rather than giving a text heavy report, this word collage is a bit of a representation on what we heard. But we do intend to include the verbatim community survey responses as an appendice in the final report if people do want to see that their feedback has been captured verbatim. And lastly, active recreation and play within the park. We know that the North Slocan Trails Society is pursuing grant funding for an all-wheel skills park. So we wanted to make sure that that was vetted through the community further through this survey. And the community is incredibly supportive of the all-wheel skills park, both in the format and the location being south of Carpenter Creek. And what an all-wheel skills park is it accommodates bikes, skateboards, scooters, adaptive mountain bikes, and basically anything with wheels. I can tell you that my community of Golden recently upgraded their pump track to a paved pump track that's adjacent to the skate park, and it is hugely popular. I have gotten on it to ride it, but it was challenging to find a time where there wasn't a never-ending stream of kids on scooters and bikes and skateboards to a point where I wouldn't embarrass myself by trying out the new pump track. But I can attest that it is very fun and it has been very well received by the community. So which sport and play elements received the most support? Nature, play, and shade received approximately 80% of respondents, giving it a high or medium priority. A floating dock was also really favorable in terms of respondents, many of which wanted a slide or zip line too. Disc golf was not a official option within the survey, but we were surprised at how much of the feedback did pertain to disc golf. So we did actually reach out and have some interviews with disc golf stakeholders, and we did gain some valuable feedback. I can tell you that our consulting team is quite familiar with the intricacies of disc golf, and we are applying that knowledge and feedback into the concepts design to try to find an appropriate area to develop that aspect, but not to take over the park where people are dodging discs right, left, and center. Playground improvements were also a reoccurring theme, especially with the youth design charrette. And there's again a high desire for a zip line within the park. Nature play, sand play, water play, and a floating dock were popular elements. And then active recreation within the park was also a topic within the survey, with us gaining some valuable insight as to which some of the most appreciated active recreation elements are within the park. And here's a visual representation of some of the feedback that we got within the youth design charrette. So we had grades 2 to 3 and then 4 to 7. And I can tell you that there are some really great ideas in here, some high level thinkers in the community, and some really creative kids. So we really do appreciate the Lucerne School and all of the youth that did participate in the process. We really value the information, and I wish that we could have been there in person to participate in the process, but maybe we will in years to come. So I'd like to introduce the first of two concepts. The first concept we're calling the active concept, and the design objectives that we had for concept 1 were to keep the existing ball diamond. I know there's some mixed feelings on whether the ball diamond gets used enough. It takes up a lot of space within the park, but we have heard from people that at times baseball has been really, really popular within the community, and other times it barely gets used. So it's definitely something we wanted to float out within the survey, and there was enough interest in it that we felt like it needed to be a component within one of the concepts. We also, in this concept, want to create an active recreation hub. So we have the ball diamond, we have basketball, we have volleyball, the bocce courts, and we've introduced horseshoe pits, as well as disc golf. We wanted to reorganize the campground to create a cohesive campground with lakefront campsites, but this concept does relocate the south campsites. In the concept 1, we are incorporating the community hall. We're also expanding the swimming area. We're incorporating a 9-hole disc golf short course or putting course. We're incorporating a nature playground. With both concepts, as with all work that our group does, we put a high importance on existing and mature trees. So there is a desire to preserve existing mature trees, but we do recognize that there are hazard trees that do present an option within the park. So these are some themes that we've been working with. And then improving pedestrian trails and connections. So some of these are precedent images that we're trying to convey what we're talking about, essentially. I want to say before I go any further that this isn't concept 1 versus concept 2. What we're looking to do is take elements from each concept and find the right balance for the preferred concept. So please don't view this as it has to be concept 1 or concept 2. In all honesty, it is likely to be hopefully the best combination of both concepts. So we're not married to any one concept, and we definitely can pick and choose elements from each concept. And also, nothing is set in stone just yet. The intent is to show different ideas and precedents. In some cases, we might be showing a modern community hall, trying to get a bit of a reaction or a response from people, but we also can show a more muted or more natural example of a community hall or covered open space. So yeah, take these images with a grain of salt. They're more to generate discussion in the question and answer period, not be this is exactly what's going to be happening here. So I will take you through each concept. This is an overview of, we will be providing each concept as such, so that you will be able to either download this or take away a printed copy to be able to really review it at your own pace. And we would like to have everyone give us feedback on, what some of the most popular items are within each concept, the applicability or location of different concepts. We're not assuming we have everything right at this moment, but we do want to get there for the preferred concept. So highlighting some of the elements of concept one, starting at the north end. Can everyone see my hand cursor moving around? Perfect. So we are proposing an accessible ramp, improved pedestrian connectivity from Highway 6. We know that there are the existing stairs there, but they are a bit of a hazard in the winter time. We are keeping the trail on top of the dike. We're showing the future pedestrian bridge location. Again, this is not set in stone, but from the engineering study that is going on, this tends to be the preferred location and the most direct connection to the downtown area. So we feel that if this pedestrian bridge does go in this location, this area is really going to act like a nice meeting spot or a node that active transportation, foot traffic, bicycles, strollers, people will kind of converge on this, and then this will actually be a really popular entry to Centennial Park in the future. Again, on the north side, we are proposing, there was a lot of interest in a small off-leash fenced dog park. We know that a lot of people do use this seasonally inundated area as an informal off-leash dog area. We're not proposing changes to this area as it is outside of the license of occupation of the Village of New Denver, and it also does flood in the spring. So we are proposing to basically keep that area as it is used now, but it does provide quite a bit of real estate for off-leash dog area, for nature appreciation. It is a very cool area, and we recognize that. So we didn't want to propose too many changes for that. But we do recognize that there is an appetite for a small fenced off-leash dog areas. So what we've done is, in this area, we have a combination of amenities. So we have quite a generous area for the all-wheel skills park. We have a proposed washroom. We have parking facilities that would also service the off-leash dog area. So you have a nice little combination of amenities here, as well as the short 3 to 9 hole disc golf putting course in this area. This is a bit of an underutilized area, but we are able to offer some recreational opportunities there. So this is actually a pretty good spot for a small disc golf course. It's not a high traffic area. Like I said, we are keeping the trail on top of the dike, and we are proposing not a heavy touch, but a light touch for some amazing little, we're calling them hidden gem picnic sites that wouldn't necessarily be advertised within the signage, but the locals would know about them. And if the visitors did, come across them, it might be a really great place to have lunch or just, be peaceful and have some alone time and look out at the water. The campground, we are utilizing a lot of the existing campground layout, but what we are doing is double loading this existing road because I said, I'll pan down to the south end in a second, but what we are recommending in this concept is to remove the south campsites, but our goal was to provide no net loss of campsites. So we have provided 50 campsites. These are based on best practices for size of campsites, for spacing. We're not trying to jam people in so that there's no privacy, but we also want to provide enough of a revenue generating force for the village of New Denver, because we know a lot of revenue does come from the campground. Also, an objective of this concept is to provide as much lakefront camping as we could muster. So we do have this new loop down here, which essentially this is quite a functional layout for a campground. If you were in a trailer, you could come through here, use these sites, a nice turnaround with a washroom in the middle, new washroom facilities, ample turnaround for all vehicle turning radii. We're proposing that the operator would be right here at currently site 23. So right as you enter the campsite, you would see the operator, the firewood storage. We're proposing a new sani dump. The existing sani dump does need either substantial modification or to be rebuilt. So that allows us to offer a new location as a potential. So we do have a bit of a loop here that would allow for campers coming in and out, and hopefully not a lot of pressure on people using the sani dump. So we're not proposing any changes to the existing marina. That would stay as is. But we do feel that this campground reconfiguration would kind of maximize the north camping area and preserve the rest of the park to be used by everyone, not just visitors and campers. That was an important consideration. We are leaving the existing ball diamond in this concept, but we are changing the location of several of the other active recreation play amenities. So we have moved to a full basketball court here. We have a beach volleyball court. We are proposing a new bocce court and horseshoe pits in this area. And then we are preserving the septic field. The ball diamond in itself can also serve as flexible open space for large events like Garlic Fest or May Days. And then in the southern end, we are proposing to keep the existing gazebo as is, but as we are likely to lose the existing covered shelter, I believe it's the old merry-go-round, we do feel that there is an opportunity to incorporate a fire pit within the gazebo as a covered cook shelter, if that were something that is well received. We're not in any way, shape, or form wanting to really degrade or change the existing gazebo. That's a well-loved amenity, but there is an opportunity to potentially have cooking facilities within that covered space. This is a new organization for the whole south of the space. So this is the proposed location for the potential location for the community hall. So what we're showing is a kind of linear peaked roof community hall structure that would have amazing views out to the lake. That combined with kind of a covered outdoor classroom or covered space for smaller outdoor events could be quite a nice space here. We have provided quite a bit of parking while preserving the existing mature native or natural trees along the south band, but this formalizing the existing area where the informal parking occurs would serve the community hall as well as park users, day users, things like that. We are proposing minor upgrades to the existing boat launch. There was a desire to widen the ramp, potentially include a hand boat launch and covered canoe and kayak storage. In this concept, we are proposing to expand the swimming area significantly, but that would all be enclosed and demarcated so that this would be a safe swimming space away from boat traffic, away from the boat access. And we are proposing to add a second swimming dock with a slide. In this concept, we also have this grass lounge that I want to touch on. So this grass lounge could either be, you know, a grassy area before the beach, above the high water line, where you know, we could have interesting chaise loungers. Or another idea that we do have is kind of a hybrid public art slash grass lounge kind of idea. One of the big takeaways for myself and other members of the team, we always try to hone in on really unique elements of each community, of each space that we're working in. And one of the takeaways for us was the beautiful pebbles on the beach. Obviously the stunning views, there's a lot of inspirational natural environment to take away. So, but going with oversized benches, potentially crafted locally, so that would reflect a lot of the colors that you see in the area, a lot of the pebbles that you see on the beach. So this is an artistic rendering by Petra of what that might look like. And I think it turned out quite good. So moving into concept 2, we're calling this the passive concept. So the design objective that we're trying to tackle here are we're trying to provide a cover stage and performance area. We're trying to create a community fire pit area. We're creating an accessible beach platform. We want to accommodate both large events such as Garlic Fest, May Days, but also intimate events. So if there was a smaller performance in the park, as well as providing a covered shelter, either as an outdoor classroom or for small performances. Again, we'd like to explore the opportunities to incorporate public art. I know there's a lot of extremely creative people throughout the Kootenay communities. So that's something that we want to highlight and allow opportunities for. Again, we're going to expand the swimming area. We want to explore the creation of an adventure playground. Again, a reoccurring theme is preserving the beautiful trees that you already have in the park while improving that and planting new trees as a succession plan, and then improving pedestrian trails and connections throughout the park and to the surrounding community. So some of the ideas that we're trying to combine would be the zip line and the public art. So I don't have as many zoom ins on this one, unfortunately, but I will do my best to take you through the design. And I'll just zoom in here and we'll go north to south like we did before. Oh, too zoomed in, my apologies. So again, whoops. My computer's jumpy. You're getting a sneak preview of the of something I didn't want to show just yet. Okay, bear with me. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. So again, we're trying to improve the interface to the park from Highway 6. This is a pretty great opportunity for the all-wheel skills park. So we just wanted to show a bit of a different configuration. I can tell you that, oh geez. Okay, I can tell you that from my experience.
Sorry, Jason, if you just turn off page scrolling in the view, it'll stop jumping to the next page.
I'll try that.
Or sorry, turn it on.
I can tell you that from experience here in Golden with our improved pump track, what I saw or what I see daily is a lot of parents standing beside the pump track watching one kid go around the pump track and another child wanting to play on something else. So we wanted to create a natural or adventure playground adjacent to the all-wheel skills park. We have the parking lot on this side off Josephine Street. and we would have some sort of washroom structure adjacent to the all-wheel skills park, the parking lot, and the nature playground. So what we're trying to do is basically combine activities so that we can keep everyone entertained and active. So this is potentially where the zip line and some of the adventure play elements might go. The all-wheel skills park and the parking area, the connection to downtown with the proposed pedestrian bridge. This is a little bit of a different configuration for the campground. We don't quite have 50 sites, so there's a little bit of an offset from the 49 that exist, including the south campsites, but I think we're at 44 here. So again, we're proposing new entry signage to create that sense of arrival and identity. You would feel coming down Third that you're definitely at the campground. You're not questioning whether you're in the right or wrong place. I think that's a bit of the experience coming down First into the south campsites. We're proposing a different washroom location here in firewood storage. The site host would be in site 29 as it currently is. And the sanding dump would either be rebuilt or a completely new sanding dump, but in this area. It would either be automated or with having the site host right across from it, they would be able to collect fees from everyone using the sanding dump. And that's an important revenue generating opportunity. I think there's an opportunity for the village to potentially offer something that works for both locals and for visitors, potentially like a season's pass for locals, where there's kind of an annual fee, but they can use the sanding dump as they need to, but also an automated system where you can pay per use. So that's an opportunity with either configuration that can be a win-win for the village, for visitors, and for residents alike. Again, we are kind of double loading this main access road. And then this version has 4 walk-in tent sites on this side. We are keeping the beach and day use area kind of as it is now, but we are proposing an improved sandy beach and volleyball court in this location. We are proposing improved pedestrian trail along the lakefront, removing the existing asphalt surface that's in place. We do have a new picnic area, maintaining the existing gazebo, keeping the existing swimming dock. In this concept, we are removing the basketball court, we are removing the baseball diamond, and we're going to a much more passive approach, much more flexible open space. But what we have created is a covered outdoor stage area here that can both accommodate large events in this field, say for Garlic Fest or May Days, but also smaller performances. And this stage would be the epic backdrop with Valhalla Park, with Slocan Lake in the background. This would be kind of one of the iconic images for the village of New Denver. I could see weddings happening here, concerts, performances, as well as being used as kind of an outdoor classroom. We have reconfigured the boat access turnaround here. We've shrunk it quite a bit. And the reason being is the existing one is quite large. It does accommodate the camping, but if we're no longer having camping in that area, we can shrink it to still a generous turnaround, but something that preserves a lot more open space and doesn't take over the waterfront. And what we are proposing is a boat wash station and a native demonstration garden adjacent to. We are proposing minor enhancements to the existing boat launch area. We're not touching the Cohan garden in any of the concepts. We are proposing a community fire pit at the back of the stage and an accessible platform or beach access in this location. Again, this is a second floating dock and a natural playground in this area adjacent to the performance space. So what does that stage look like that I inadvertently gave everyone a sneak peek? So the theme that we're going with is we're trying to provide a modern yet structure that draws upon the heritage of the area. So a lot of the mining heritage and heritage buildings of the time have tall peaked roofs, a lot of wood shingles, that type of form. So what we're trying to do is offer a unique, tailored to New Denver form, covered stage area that is that iconic space. And you all know the setting that it's in. So you can imagine watching a concert there with the setting in the background. On the other side, this could be for intimate, kind of smaller performances. This community fire pit area could be a really interesting, informal or formal, really great community gathering space. We have, this lakeshore pathway kind of coming right in. This creates a bit of a hub. And then, like I said, creating a bit of an accessible beach access or cantilever dock really allows everyone to be able to use this space, enjoy the beach area. We have the hand boat launch, the new swimming dock from there. So this is obviously a concept that we're pretty excited about. And thank you, Petra, for your awesome artistic abilities. This is a bit of a hybrid approach, using a 3D model at first, and then coming to something that looks, quite sketchy and creative. So I can tell you that this is all spatially accurate and designed, as well as, kind of having that organic form and approach. And then I know that we did offer a very modern kind of approach on the community hall or the outdoor classroom. So we did want to offer a bit of a softer approach that may or may not be more aligned with some of the community values, or maybe more well received with people. So this is a bit of an alternate take on that. So we have a bit of a green roof structure. We do have, the organic forms of the supports, the incorporating natural materials of stone and wood. This could also be, a great location for the native garden, where native species are kind of highlighted and celebrated, and people can build their capacity and knowledge of the native plants in the area. We could have, little plaques that show, which plants are which. So that's the two concepts as we have right now, the active concept and the passive concept. So in terms of next steps and moving forward, we will be looking for public input on the concepts and steering committee direction. So where we're looking for that public input will be tonight in the question and answer period that we're about to have. In the second session, feel free to attend both sessions if you want, or just one. But and then we will be having a short survey. It's not going to be as extensive or long, but we will be looking for feedback on, which concept is more successful, which elements do you most appreciate from each concept, and we're really trying to, gather feedback so that we can navigate to that preferred concept. We will begin, once we have that direction, we will begin working on the preferred concept, and we will present that in a more direct and concentrated approach. We will present different costing and phasing analysis and scenarios. We'll be presenting that draft report to the Village of New Denver and the steering committee and council. Once we have council support and everyone's on board with what we're proposing, we will be providing a final report and presenting hopefully to the community. I would love to be there in person if possible. So we'll see how that rolls out. Yeah, so I thank everybody for the time. I feel like I've been talking quite a bit. I'm going to take a quick drink of water here, but I'd like to open the floor up to discussion with all of you, and stop sharing my screen maybe, so that we can have honest dialogue about, what you saw in the concepts, Are they things that you got excited about? Are they things that aren't appropriate? We're fairly thick-skinned and we won't be offended. Nothing's set in stone. So yeah, we're really excited to hear what you think of our concepts and where you want to take it from here. Again, I guess if you could use the reactions and raise your hand, and then you can, I'll say your name and you can unmute yourself, and then we can have some constructive dialogue rather than everyone talking over each other. So I have Danica and Valerie. I'm not sure which one of you raised your hand first. You're both pretty quick on the draw there. Whoever unmutes themselves first.
Okay, I can, well, you go first. It's your neighbor. The park's your neighbor, so you go first.
Hi, I'm a neighbor of the park. I've been here for about 40 years, and I'd really like to thank you guys for the incredible work you've done. And I really like it that you've kept the quaintness of our community and not tried to make it glitzy. I love the rustic approach that you've created. I love the way you've designed it. I really am grateful for everything you've done. And I really like the passive approach myself. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Valerie. We appreciate that.
Yeah, I want to echo what Valerie said. I really want to thank council and staff and yourself, Jason and Petra, for all your hard work and for offering 2 sessions when working people aren't working. I'm just so grateful to have this kind of opportunity to provide feedback. With Valerie, I'm just squealing with excitement for concept 2. And I had one question about concept 1 with regards to the community hall. I'm just curious how big it is. I was trying to imagine how big, and I'm curious if you have a rough square footage. I don't think we need another Bosun or another memorial hall. So if it was small, I might be okay with it, but just curious if you have a rough size. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Danica. I really appreciate the feedback. So to answer your question, Fraser, maybe you can give the square footage, but I think we were looking, so the scenario that was proposed to us was if Bosun Hall was no longer going to be in place in the downtown and be the community hall, creating something of that size, so up to 200 people, about is what we're sizing the building for and trying to accommodate. So we're definitely not trying to overtake the whole park with a building. And even though it is a fairly large structure, I think the intent would be to kind of, and I'm a landscape architect, not an architect, but the idea that we're putting forward would be kind of, with the glass front, with it feeling open and airy. Perhaps it could open on nice days, trying to tailor that it could be a large event, it could be a small event, could be open to the air, it could be a small classroom with people, it could be a wedding. So that's kind of where we're thinking about it, given the direction that we've been giving. I also think you could do a really nice community hall for 30 or 50 people. And again, I think Jessica, you can correct me on this, but nothing is set in stone. I think we're just looking for honest feedback about what is felt to be kind of appropriate within the park, but exploring opportunities if the Bosun Hall was not going to be where it is now.
I think we also thought about the form of the building a little bit in the images we presented, and the idea being that there would be space available even if the hall is not open. So having covered space on either end. And so the idea that, you could have an outdoor class or have a little concert or something and have that covered space.
Fraser, I don't want to put you on the spot, but off the top of your head, do you know roughly what the square footage is?
I don't remember. I'd have to open up the file and measure. So sorry.
What we'll do is we'll get that. We'll present it in the next session, and also we can record it in the survey or something like that, if that's something that people are really interested in. Keith, I believe you're the next one with your hand up.
Yeah. Yeah, again, just huge congratulations. To come up with two concepts like that and have so much diversity and so many options, very well explained too. Appreciate all the insight and thought. You know, I'm a relative newcomer to the area, and unfortunately, almost a few months into being here, suddenly COVID hit and all the public spaces were shut down. I've got to say that this seems to be between New Denver and Silverton. There just seems to be we're blessed with public space that we can't use at the moment, and I certainly don't have a lot of experience for public space functions that have gone on in the past. I, for one, sort of feel that there's probably too much public space already. I love Knox Hall. Haven't spent much time at Boson, but it feels like between the new lift building going on at Silverton and the Silverton Memorial Hall and that, there's plenty of space that we shouldn't be putting another massive structure in the line of sight of the lake, I believe. But the outdoor classroom idea was really great. I really certainly gravitated more towards the more passive approach that you're looking at there. And I really like the idea of tent sites as opposed to drive-in sites, and really want to sort of champion that, the sort of the less impact we have with the campsite. I think the better the community embraces the camping options there. But yeah, so I agree. Again, after not being here for only being here for 2 years, the little bit of activity I've seen happen around the baseball diamond, I think it takes up way too much space for its function, and have more flexibility, a more organic form of space going on around there feels really, really good. Yeah, I really like the way that the Riverside parks are being evolved into the Centennial Park, and yeah, I look forward to the pedestrian bridge ideas and the dog walk area, being undisturbed right down by the river. Feels really good. Congratulations. I like what you've done. It looks good.
Thank you, Keith. I will say that we're totally aware of the Silverton plan for their campsite that just was completed. And I think Eric Lees did a great job on that. I've met him before, and they do some great work. I also feel like it's refreshing that we're taking a completely different approach with Centennial Park and with the campground here. And I think it'll be a good thing for both communities to have different offerings. And they're obviously going in a bit of a different direction with some of the elements that they're focused on. So it's great to hear that we're on the right track for what's appropriate for New Denver. But yeah, I just want to acknowledge that, that we're aware of that other plan, and we're excited that it's different from what we have in mind as well. Valerie, I can see your finger up.
Well, I didn't want to address any of my big concerns, so I didn't. But now that Danica spoke up about the community hall, and Keith, I would like to speak to that as well. And I am wondering, I did hear you say that it would be lovely to have a hall overlooking the lake, but my sense of a hall is where the community does things, where you actually go to a place for an event. And I just feel that the park and the beach and the lake is maybe not the place for a community hall, that maybe there would be an alternative place. Like, I know outside of town, and this might be just in left field, but Jim Pownell used to have his logging area up there, and the village has a huge piece of property up there. And maybe a community hall outside of town where there's tons of space might be more appropriate for the community if they should so choose to have another hall, yet another one, because it feels like we do have a lot of little halls and big halls. But I love the open concept of having an outdoor concert or whatever. That would really fit this whole space as well. So thank you.
So even though the stage is a fairly substantial structure, the intent was for it to almost frame the view or be fitting within the view and not take away from it. It would just provide the stage for those performances. So is that felt to be kind of, are we on track with the stage location and with that kind of being in the space? Getting a few thumbs up. Okay. Just wanted to make sure. Yeah, the more feedback we get moving into the preferred concept, it's great. We really do value the local feedback, and we want it, we want it to be something that you're proud of. So, Keith, sorry, Keith, did you have your hand up? And then Kathy.
Yeah, yeah, and actually, just my mind is refreshing about all the all the great ideas you put out there. I love how the south part of the park has been sort of given back to the community. The expansion of the pool or the swim area, the like we're talking about the stage, the big campfire idea is just brilliant down there, and even the idea that becomes the framing venue, an outdoor venue there, or subtly sheltered venue, with all the sort of wilderness around it and the backdrop of the mountains. I mean, we're so, I think, fortunate here that we don't have sort of killer mosquito problems like they do in so many other places, that you can go down there and imagine some of the local groups playing and having a bit of a musical evening, and everyone being able to relax and enjoy and share. I think that space is going to get a lot of use, especially if it's relatively outdoor rather than sort of this enclosed space that, again, I sort of feel like we don't need. But thank you. Yeah, great stuff.
Thank you, Keith. And yeah, that's very intentional. The aspect I really enjoy about it is the pathway kind of bringing people to the stage. And when there's not a performance happening, it almost encourages people to become the performer, whether you're a kid or an adult. So that was kind of this dual facing stage. That's the idea there. And just encouraging, anyone to be able to get right up there and put on a performance if you want to. Kathy, you had your hand up. You're muted though.
Not speaking as a reporter, but as a Orchard resident. So you've done amazing work, all of you. It's beautiful. I have to say, I'm blown away. And Petra, your pictures are great. They're just really charming. Leaning very heavily to the passive concept. And I don't think you're going to find that unusual. People here really love that park and love the nature that we have here. I only have one question, and it's because I'm a dog owner. It feels, compared to the riches I have right now in the dog field, it feels pretty crowded. And we've got to get from, the road to the dike, and it just really feels like by the time my dog gets to the dike, he's going to be wound up like a top, because there's going to be so much going on over there. I just wanted to throw that in there. I think you're right. That's a lot of beautiful land that can be used for other things besides dogs and dog poo. If it could be some quiet way to get your dog from where it's coming from to a place where it's going to run, like in the dike. The little off-leash fenced area, that's great. But the dogs also need a place to run, which would be the dike, which is fine, like the flooded area.
North of the dike, just adjacent to the creek. Yeah. So in both concepts, that is the informal off-leash dog area, or maybe even the formal off-leash dog area. There was quite a bit of feedback about a fenced dog park area. And I agree, it is a little bit small for a fenced dog leash area, but the intent is that there's a large off leash area and a small fenced area. So if your dog really wants to run, it runs in the off leash area. If your dog's a bit antisocial, but you still want to maybe there's some agility elements or something in there for the dog to kind of run around in. I'm a dog owner myself, so and I have worked on some dog park projects, but I do agree it is a little bit small. It's just there's only so much of the area to kind of divide up, and we didn't want to give a huge area to a fenced off-leash area, but there is a generous off-leash area adjacent to Carpenter, south of Carpenter.
Yeah, no, I think what you've done with it is great. Like, you've given a running space and you're given a small fence space. I'm only asking for like a quiet corridor for the dog to get to the running space, because it just looks like it's full of bikes and playgrounds, and which is great. I think they should be there. It's just going to be hard to safely get nervous dogs all the way to the other side of that.
Mm-hmm. Kathy, if you don't mind asking, where are you coming from exactly? Are you driving to and parking and then going to the dike area? And if so, where do you park, or you're walking from town?
I just walk down Kildare,
Yeah,
and then play in the park and then go down to the dike.
you're in.
But I mean, I can go down to Josephine. It doesn't really, nothing's very far. I just don't want to get dogs so excited that they start misbehaving.
Okay. Yeah, noted. Thanks for the feedback.
Jason?
Yes.
Let me just read out Danica's text in the chat to everybody. Sorry, it just moves. I echo Kathy's concern about the dog park. If it would be possible to have disc golf somewhere else in the community and have a larger fenced area where that is proposed in concept 1, so it's further from the highway, that would be great.
Then it's also not in the heat of the kids with the bikes and the stuff and the shouting and the laughing and like that can be a lot for dogs. So yeah, just that.
Yeah.
Totally.
Jason, you do know there is a disc park already just across the highway, right?
I do, yes, and I have played it, and I've tried to navigate it. There's definitely there could be some signage improvements and things like that, but it is really fun. I enjoy it with the propane tanks in the trees and things like that. So yes, I've been there. I am a disc golfer, full disclosure, and I'm not trying to push it. I left it totally out of the survey, and then there was a lot of input from disc golfers. So, but they're totally open from my conversations to it being, quite a small area, like even a practice basket in one of the areas, and then just the point of that is so people can come and practice, and then eventually, you build a bigger base of disc golfers in the community and potentially improve the larger park. So I agree. I don't think there's actually enough space for a legitimate course within Centennial Park without kind of taking over the whole area. So that's a great idea, Danica. I think, where we're showing that disc golf course, there's potential to turn that into the fenced off leash dog park and maybe have 1 basket or 3 baskets, but not a full course. So yeah, open to it for sure.
And maybe a map to where the adventure disc golf course is.
Yeah. I think just building awareness of the different amenities in the community can go a long way.
Yeah.
Keith had a question about the All Skills Park and whether or not it would be paved. And Jason, I'm sure you can provide insight.
Right now, the intent would be to pave that. That really opens a lot of doors for different user groups. If it's a kind of a dirt jump course, then it's really only mountain bikes. But as I've seen here and in many communities, when the trend is to pave it in asphalt, and then you have grass along the side. So what that does, it opens it up to skateboards, it opens it up to scooters, it opens it up to, pretty much anything with wheels. So I believe with speaking to the North Slocan Trail Society that their intent is to pave it, but also to have, also to have it accommodate, adaptive mountain bike wheelchairs, different aspects like that. So it's to appeal to a broader audience if you do pave it, and many more user groups.
Maybe it's a good time to ask. There's been a lot of support for concept 2. Is there anything from concept 1 that we should be, that should come over into the final plan? And Jason, I don't know if it's helpful maybe to just pull that plan up.
Yeah, I can share my screen and pull that up again. We'll show the big one, and we can zoom in wherever anyone wants to speak about. Can you all see that now? Yes, thumbs up. Okay. Do we need a refresher on some of the elements?
Can I speak about something on that?
Sure, Keith.
Okay. The one thing that I think is really good about this one is the location of the camp post, or that I get the sense that, and actually, years ago, I drove in here with a little camper van to spend the night, and had a really hard time figuring out who I was supposed to talk to. I pulled into 2 spots thinking I could just take them or whatever, but putting the camp post right there at the end would have answered a lot of my questions. And I think that end part is probably a more preferable. Also, sort of gets the person out of the the closer you get to the lake, I imagine the higher demand the sites are. So, having them occupy the furthest away is probably going to be preferable, dollars and cents wise.
Hi, Colleen, you have your hand up.
Hi. I love this whole presentation. Congratulations. It's amazing. I just want to say that from the first concept, even though I'm not a camper, but I know how important the camping revenue is for the village. And I like this idea of having these more waterfront campsites available to the campers rather than have them all set back. So that's one thing I do like from the first concept. But I'm just wondering, I think you did say at the beginning that, we can combine different features from both to eventually, I can't imagine what that process looks like, but I think there's really good elements to both of these. And so and I also wanted to ask, is there will there be any opportunity for concession of any kind? I know maybe if there was a hall, there might be, but I do like that outdoor classroom sort of stage fire pit in the second concept quite a bit. But what about a concession or a place where a food wagon could go, for example?
Yeah, I think really the village would have to respond to that. Jessica, I don't know if you want to say anything. I'm happy to respond, but I don't want to overstep my bounds here, speaking to future facilities and things like that.
Is there a reference to a concession in either of these or not? I mean, a concession would be an opportunity in the park. Yeah.
Yeah, I think from the survey, it was quite popular, and we probably should have called it out in at least one of the concepts. So I think that is something that we could include moving forward if that's deemed appropriate, and I'd be happy to include that in the concept moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
I think we have it in this one with the community hall. So again, if it's something that might fit with a smaller building, we'll just be sure to include that in the final concept.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Colleen. Yeah, I would tend to agree. I mean, there's similarities with the campground design, but also some differences. So This would kind of maximize, and I could see these being incredibly successful campsites. That's not to say we couldn't pare a few of them back, and like he said, it's hard to exactly know kind of trends in camping. I've been assuming for a while that the trailers were going to get smaller with gas prices and things like that, and they just seem to be getting bigger. So it's a little bit counterintuitive that way. But with a lot of the bike touring that's gaining popularity in the area, with people using more electric bikes and going from village to village or town to town, and kind of really camping light, I think there is some merit to developing some of those facilities and kind of catering to that kind of unique experience. So it's not that we couldn't provide that as well. So Danica, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I as a lifelong resident of New Denver, I've never camped in Centennial Park, so I don't really feel like I have much to say about concept 1 or 2 on how it's arranged, but I'm curious for the timeline of this, if there's a possibility for the campground attendant this summer to have a survey or an opportunity to ask some of the people who do come and camp here what they think specifically about that camping section. And I'm just curious, or throwing it out to council as something to consider, to let them have some input.
That's a great idea, actually. Yeah, I can't speak for Jessica or the village, but I really do think either having a quick kind of sketch of what the campground configuration could look like, or even just a quick hard copy survey could gain a lot of valuable insight as you kind of look at the hard reconfiguration of some of the elements. So yeah, that's a great idea, I would say.
And Danica, can you just clarify what a hot and cold booth is?
Oh, okay. So there's a wooden shack of sorts already in Centennial Park, and it has 2 windows of opening. So it's an open, like there's boards that cover it up when it's not being used, but it's an open kind of booth. And on one side was always called the cold booth, and it was where you buy pop, candy, chips, ice creams, and then the hot side had the grills for burgers and hot dogs and nachos and that. And so in May Days for years and years and years, it's been the hot and cold booth. And Garlic Fest is used for a different purpose. But I think the size of it and the what it provides as far as food amenities is really valuable. And I would much prefer to see that just either repaired or replaced in that same size instead of another larger community hall for 200 people, like something for food, but small, like in that concept. We can still call it the hot and cold booth. That'd be really nice for community tradition. And
yeah, we appreciate that's the insight we're looking for. We're somewhat familiar with the area. We appreciate the area, but we're definitely not lifelong residents like you. So yeah, little tidbits like that are like gold, and we really appreciate that.
There is somebody in the chat, Morgan Bordati. She is wondering in concept 2 about the implications of an outdoor stage with respect to noise, people, parking, etc., being so close to the hospital/healthcare center.
That's a consideration. I mean, I don't know how many large rock concerts you would really be having, other than maybe Garlic Fest or May Days or things like that. It may not be as much of a concern as you might think. The intent with the passive was to be more conducive to this becoming a more quiet area, other than kind of large events or performances, to be more kind of compatible with the Cohan Garden. So I think there would be some events that there might be, loud noises or things like that, but it would probably be all done within, you know, the noise bylaws of the village and things like that, respecting quiet hours. So I think there's definitely some controls that could be put on that. So I wouldn't anticipate, you know, loud rock concerts all night long or anything like that. So, but it's a valid concern for sure.
She responds in the chat that it's a beautiful stage design.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Valerie, is that for both the north and the south ends, or you're just vocalizing that you would rather see, you'd rather not see waterfront camping in any capacity?
Actually, on the south side, it's really bad, but if you're moving the campsites to the north, that would be just awesome. And if they want to hog that little piece down there, well, that's fine, as long as the rest of the beach area is for the public and the community. And I was also going to add to that, where the Cohan Garden is, and if you're making that area more people friendly, it would be really, and I understand you're putting in the plants, sorry, I lost my thinking, native plants. It would be really nice to kind of hook it up a little bit to the Cohan and create, like, stretch it out a bit so that it's really beautiful there.
Yeah, the way I think of the kind of native demonstration garden would be, it could evolve over time. If it's something that's, you know, well appreciated and respected and becomes something that's, you know, a nice signature element of Centennial Park, then it could definitely be expanded. So we're thinking that there's an opportunity with the Invasive Species Society in the area, CICUS, to explore that. And I know there's a lot of beautiful plants in the park as well. So just having that mix of park-like setting, but then also some of the native species that can be highlighted in the area. But yeah, that can be kind of incrementally expanded depending on how successful that venture is.
I think Keith still has his hand up. Question?
You have your hand up?
Yeah. Sorry, I that was my mistake, but I am thinking of something I'd like to say. There's a little bit of back and forth there in the comments about tents versus RVs, and I think that, you know, thinking in an even broader perspective, that the use of the space, if it were more dedicated to tenters, and especially the closer you are to the water, the higher the tent concentration, I believe, should be, for a number of reasons, not the least of which is everyone sort of using the park, being able to sort of, you know, enjoy that open park-like space and be able to see past tents and out to the view and the lake and everything beyond, is a much better experience than to have, you know, these 13-foot tall, you know, motorhomes and RVs and that taking up the view. There's also an economic reason to consider this. There's so much potential for people to drive RVs into Roseberry or Slocan or so many places. Wouldn't it be great if the proximity to town and tenting was really kind of cherished here? That, you know, people that come to do tenting don't bring a freezer full of stuff they bought from Costco in Calgary. They will, you know, cook it out over a campfire, or they'll go into town and you know, go to whatever restaurants or sandwich shops or whatever are available there. I just believe that the more low impact and gentle camping we can encourage here, the better it will be for people enjoying the space, but also the more it will benefit the community. That's kind of my 2 cents worth in a rant, but I really encourage that the smaller scale we can do for camping here, the better it will be for the experience and for the community.
Thank you, Keith. Yeah, I think that's, definitely a theme that we're hearing. And that's a consideration for the village to kind of, and steering committee to definitely give the team direction moving forward, in terms of, balancing revenue generating versus, not to say that revenue generating can't happen from 10 sites too. So I kind of feel like anything close to the water is a premium site. So yeah, definitely hear you. And I'm seeing a lot of nodding heads. So that'll be definitely something we discuss moving forward. So thank you. Kathy, you have your hand up. You're mute.
It was funny, Keith. I was thinking the same thing. First, I want to say though, that beach lounge area that you had with the rocks.
The oversized kind of stone seating.
Yeah, I just love that. That's just really charming. Is it kind of tagging off what Keith is saying? Your organization has experience putting campgrounds together by the sounds of it, and different sites. Can you build a campground that encourages smaller vehicles and tenting and discourages the large RVs? I mean, I don't think, now that New Denver's been totally discovered, I don't think we have to worry about income generating anymore in New Denver in the summer. I mean, I'm sure there's another place we could put giant RVs. Can you actually build the sites so they only fit a certain size of camper? And by camper, I mean family of people with what they come in with.
Yes, for sure. I actually have a good example, and I'm going to add it to the presentation moving forward. But I've designed quite a number of campgrounds and campsites of all different kinds. And so recently I was involved in a campsite in Kananaskis country. And it is specifically, there's a small parking lot, and then there's 10 walk-in sites that are in close proximity. So you're not killing your arms carrying a cooler to the site. But there's 10 tent-only sites in close proximity to the parking area, and it's working very, very well. It's kind of a unique, it's not a backcountry camping experience. I wouldn't call it that. But it is like a really great intro to more rustic camping for people. It is being well used and well appreciated. And yeah, I think it's a really interesting way of designing either a part of a campground or an entire campground that could work really well.
Well, couldn't you just make it so that those big things can't actually turn around, so they can't come in?
Well, we don't want anyone getting stuck and frustrated. You want a great user experience. But
okay, but you know where I'm going, right?
I know what you're saying.
Really encourage low impact camping and kind of figure out a gentle, kind, and caring way to discourage the moving truck style camping that we got last summer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's ways of designing sites for that. There's ways of designing the entire campground for that. There's many ways we can take this, and your points are valid, and we appreciate them.
Maybe one other question, Jason, is just the turnaround in the south, if there's any preferred layout between the two concepts there. So one's kind of using the existing asphalt, a little bit bigger with boat parking in the middle, and the other one's a smaller turnaround. So that is concept one. This one,
yeah, go ahead, Fraser.
yeah, I'll just say this one preserves those existing trees a little bit better than, oh, sorry, no, this is in the southern end by the boat launch. We're kind of right where your hand is.
Oh.
No, in the south.
Oh,
Yeah.
The turnaround. Gotcha. Sorry.
Yeah. So it'd be great to just get some input in terms of what the preferred layout is there. So again, this first one is using the existing turnaround. It preserves those existing trees a little bit better. And it has boat parking in the middle. And the other turnaround is a little bit smaller, but there's not really a space for boat parking. So that ends up going on the north side of First Ave, and those taller trees are removed there.
Yeah, you're talking about the trees here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just going to speak up. I agree. I far prefer this. And the other thing it does is it opens up that southern tip of the more organic park area to more public use and function. I also feel that the parking, I recognize that we're already creating parking across from the Cohen Garden, and that's going to be kind of a fact of life, unfortunately, I believe, but it's necessary. And this concept, I think, is great to be able to sort of pull in with boats and trailers, add a little bit of parking more towards the middle without spreading so far west as the other one does. Freeing up that green space with a tighter turning circle. This is a far preferable concept, I believe.
Mother thumbs, I see.
Yeah, help me out. When I'm
yeah,
sharing
in the chat too.
Always don't always see it.
Yeah, there's a couple comments in the chat too. They Valerie, Keith, and Danica about preferring the smaller turnaround space.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's kind of pros and cons to each one, and that's why we're trying to show both. If I can. As an appreciator of trees, I will, if we are going to more the concept 2 turnaround, I still would put some effort into trying to preserve. I think these are some of the nicest mature trees in the park. So yeah, we can definitely, if we're removing the baseball diamond, maybe we can rework this a little bit to preserve those trees while still having something similar to what we're showing down here. But yeah, we'll put on our thinking cap and take a look at that as we move forward. It's good feedback and insight.
Jason, would it be interesting to hear what people's thoughts are on creating a fire pit in the existing gazebo?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so the thinking was that the gazebo is quite open, but we were taking away the I believe it's the former merry-go-round. So there is like a fire pit in that area, and it's a covered shelter. And what we were told is it's popular for birthday parties and things like that. Do we need to provide something like that? And is it appropriate to augment the existing gazebo in such a way? Is that something that people are receptive to or would rather not? I think that's an important question to ask, Petra. Thanks. we don't have to decide on it tonight.
It would be great to have a fire pit somewhere for sure. And yes, I live by the park, and for 41 years, I've seen many, 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 many birthday parties and gatherings go on over there. And it's really nice that even though it's an old gazebo with the fire pit in it, it's protected from the sun and the rain. And so it is a great place for gathering. So whether that could be substituted somewhere else, that would be, it's great to have it.
Thank you, Valerie. We have Danica in the chat just saying if there's a fire pit by the outdoor stage performance area, do we need a second one? But like you said, Valerie, that would provide the kind of shade and covered aspect. If you're having your birthday party and it rains on the day, then you don't have to change your plans. So yeah, there's considerations both ways. Any other head scratchers we want to bring up? Appreciate the dialogue on this. Okay, well, we've run a little over the hour and a half, so really appreciate everyone's time. If there's anything else, you know, we've kind of taken letters and feedback through email and you know, if you think of something later on that you really want to pass on to us as we're navigating to the final concept, I would encourage you to do so either through the village or to myself directly or to Petra directly. We're still open to you know, gathering all the feedback, and so we really appreciate your time and this constructive dialogue and the feedback about the concepts. It seems like, at least from this session, fairly united views and direction we're getting from the community. So that's appreciated. And yeah, it seems like, you know, for the most part, we're proposing some things that the community is on board with, which is, you know, that's basically what we're going for. We don't want to come in here and pretend we know it all. We want to accentuate the space and make it work better, not make it, you know, less user friendly or community friendly. So yeah, thanks everyone very much for their time. And Kathy, you have something to?
How do we get hold of you and Petra? Do you have an email address somewhere around?
Yeah, we can share that with you. Does Jessica have your contact information, Kathy?
Yep.
So I'll share that so that we can chat about this. If you want anything for the article, I'm happy to chat with you tomorrow. So we'll get you that.
Right. And you said at the beginning, if people want time to think about it, they can come back with questions on Sunday. Yeah, that's okay.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay. Great. Thanks, guys. That was great work.
Well, thanks everyone for their time. We really, really appreciate it. And we're excited about this project. All right. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you.